Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive into ancient wisdom. Today, we're going to be looking at Chapter 4 of The Secret of the Golden Flower, attributed to Lu Dongbin.
Sounds good.
This chapter is all about finding inner peace and focus.
Okay.
Especially in the middle of, daily life, all the distractions and everything.
Right.
So we'll see if we can extract some wisdom from this chapter.
Excellent. Yeah, Lu Dongbin is considered one of the 8 immortals.
Oh, wow.
In Chinese mythology, and his insights are surprisingly relevant even today.
I think that's one of the things that's so interesting about this text.
Yeah.
Is that, it's from, over 1,000 years ago.
Right.
But so much of it is still so relevant.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that struck me right away is how Lu Dongbin connects our breath to our mental state.
Yeah.
He even ties it to the Chinese character for breath, which combines symbols for self and heart.
Wow.
What do you think of that connection?
I think it's fascinating how the language itself reflects this ancient understanding.
Right.
Lu Dongbin emphasizes that our thoughts, or what he calls our inner breath, are intertwined with our physical breath.
Right.
It's like when our minds are racing, our breath gets all choppy.
Yeah.
And when we're calm, our breath flows smoothly.
Right. It's like our breath is a mirror reflecting our inner state.
Exactly.
But the question is, can we use our breath to change how we feel?
That's where Lu Dongbin's teachings get really interesting.
Okay.
He suggests that by learning to regulate our breath, we can actually start to calm the mental chatter and cultivate a deeper sense of stillness.
Okay, so that makes sense in theory, but quieting my mind sometimes feels like trying to tame a room full of puppies.
I know, right?
So how does he even suggest that we begin to approach this?
Well, he introduces this intriguing concept called ear light.
Ear light.
Yeah.
Okay.
So imagine your attention as a spotlight. Usually that spotlight is shining outward, right? Constantly bombarded by sights and sounds of the world.
Yeah.
Ear light is about gently shifting that spotlight inward.
Okay.
Focusing it on the subtle sensations of your breath.
So it's not about like literally listening with our ears.
Right.
But it's more about cultivating an inner sense of listening.
Precisely.
Okay.
It's about turning down the volume on the external world and tuning into the rhythm of our own breath.
Okay.
He suggests that we refine this inner listening to the point where the breath becomes almost inaudible.
Wow.
It's like listening for the silence beneath the surface noise.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
It makes me realize that I usually only pay attention to my breath when I'm out of breath.
Right.
Like after running or something.
Right.
But this idea of listening for the subtle nuances, that's a whole different level of awareness.
It is. And what's fascinating is that as we refine this ear light, Lu Dongbin suggests that we tap into what he calls true breath.
Sure.
A deeper, more fundamental energy that can reveal insights into the very nature of our hearts.
Okay, so true breath.
Yeah.
What is that exactly, and how do we connect with it?
It's not mystical, like supernatural or anything.
Right.
Instead, think of it as a state of deep inner stillness and clarity that emerges when we quiet the constant chatter of the mind.
Okay.
So that mental quiet allows us to connect with a level of awareness that's often hidden by our usual busyness.
So it's like clearing away the mental clutter.
Yes.
To reveal a hidden treasure within.
Exactly. It's about accessing a deeper wellspring of energy and wisdom that's always present but often obscured by our own mental noise.
This brings up a challenge I think a lot of people face, which is trying to control their thoughts directly.
Right.
It can feel exhausting.
Yes.
And frankly impossible.
It is incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
He actually says that. Instead, he advocates for a more indirect approach.
Right.
He calls it guarding pure ki.
Okay.
It's about focusing on regulating the breath as the gateway to calming the heart.
So instead of wrestling with our thoughts,
we
can gently guide them towards stillness using our breath.
Precisely. He compares it to pulling a thread.
Okay.
A seemingly fragile thread can move a much larger object.
Okay.
Similarly, consistent focus on the breath, though subtle, can have a profound impact on stabilizing the mind and spirit.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
It makes me think of the power of small, consistent actions.
Absolutely.
But this is where I personally stumble.
Okay.
I'll sit down to meditate.
Yeah.
And instead of finding peace, I end up feeling restless, even frustrated. It's like, my mind has a life of its own.
That's such a common experience.
Yeah.
And Lu Dongbin acknowledges these very challenges.
Uh-huh.
He uses a rather unexpected analogy to illustrate how to overcome them.
Okay.
A hen brooding over eggs.
Yeah. Okay, now I'm really curious. How does that relate to calming the mind?
Think about it. The hen uses her body heat to incubate the eggs, right?
Uh-huh.
But that warmth alone can't penetrate the shell.
Right.
To nourish the developing chicks inside, she needs to focus her attention, her intent inward.
So it's not just about the physical warmth,
right,
but about directing that warmth with focused intention.
Exactly. And notice the hen's unwavering focus.
Okay.
She might leave the nest for a bit, but her mind remains attuned to those eggs.
Right.
Lu Dongbin suggests that this unwavering focus is what allows her to infuse those eggs with the vitality they need to hatch.
Wow, that's a powerful image.
It is.
He's like nature is giving us a master class in focused attention.
Absolutely.
We often underestimate the wisdom we can glean from the natural world.
That's true.
Now, Lu Dongbin also talks about the death of the heart.
Yes.
Which sounds a bit intense.
It does.
Could you shed some light on what he means by that?
Don't worry, he's not talking about literal death. He's describing a state of undivided focus.
Okay.
Where the scattered energy of the heart quiets down.
Mm-hmm.
Think of it as achieving complete stillness.
Okay.
Being fully present in the moment.
So it's less about the heart stopping and more about it becoming utterly, still completely present.
Exactly. It's about channeling our mental energy effectively.
Okay.
Rather than letting it scatter in 1,000 directions.
I see this idea resonates with other traditions too.
Uh-huh.
There's a Buddhist saying, place the heart in one place and nothing will remain undone.
Yes.
It's fascinating how these ancient wisdom traditions seem to converge.
Yeah.
On this idea of focused attention as a key to unlocking our potential.
It speaks to the universal power of these practices, and Lu Dongbin doesn't shy away from acknowledging the challenges we all face.
Okay.
In cultivating this kind of focus.
Right.
Especially drowsiness and distraction.
Oh, tell me about it.
Yeah.
Those are the two biggest obstacles in my own meditation practice.
Okay.
It's like as soon as I try to quiet my mind, it either zones out or starts planning my grocery list.
I know, it's so common.
Yeah.
Lu Dongbin dedicates a significant part of this chapter to addressing those very challenges.
Okay.
He sees them not as personal failings, but as natural obstacles that arise on the path to inner stillness.
So instead of beating ourselves up for getting distracted or sleepy, we should see it as part of the process.
Exactly. Simply becoming aware of these tendencies is the first step towards overcoming them.
Okay.
He even distinguishes between distraction, which he attributes to an active spirit.
Okay.
And drowsiness, which he links to an unclear spirit.
So distraction is like our mind buzzing around.
Yeah.
While drowsiness is more like our mental energy getting foggy and sluggish.
A perfect way to put it.
Okay.
And he offers specific advice for addressing each of these challenges.
This is where it gets really interesting.
Yes.
But before we dive into those remedies,
okay,
let's take a moment to recap what we've learned so far. What stands out to you as the most crucial point from this first part of the chapter?
For me, it's the idea that cultivating inner stillness is not about forcefully silencing the mind.
Okay.
But about gently guiding it towards a state of peace and clarity, using the breath as our anchor.
Right.
And Lu Dongbin's concept of ear light provides a practical way to begin cultivating this inner focus.
Yeah.
It's about shifting our attention from the external chaos to the subtle sensations of our breath.
Okay.
Listening for the silence beneath the surface noise.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
It's like we're learning to create a sanctuary within ourselves.
Yes.
A space of peace and clarity that we can access anytime, anywhere.
Exactly.
But how exactly do we overcome those pesky obstacles of drowsiness and distraction?
Right.
Especially in our busy modern lives.
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And thankfully, Lu Dongbin offers some practical advice on that front.
Okay.
Which we'll delve into after a quick break. So Lu Dongbin suggests different remedies depending on whether you're battling distraction or drowsiness.
Okay.
For distraction, he encourages us to find specific remedies.
Okay.
Meaning, we need to identify what's causing our mental restlessness.
Okay.
And tackle it head on.
So if, like, my phone keeps pulling me away during meditation,
right,
maybe the remedy is leaving it in another room.
Exactly.
Or if it's, worries about work, maybe I need to jot down a to-do list beforehand to clear my head.
Exactly. It's about proactively managing distractions.
Okay.
But for drowsiness, Lu Dongbin takes a different approach.
Okay.
He emphasizes regulating the breath
Okay.
by focusing on the subtle sensations as it enters and leaves the body.
So even though he talks about true breath as this deeper energy,
Right.
the practice is still grounded in the physical act of breathing.
Yes. And he highlights that even though this external breath isn't the same as true breath,
Okay.
it's the vehicle to get there. He says we should be able to sense the breath without hearing it.
Okay.
If we can hear it,
it
means the breath is still coarse.
Okay.
And our energy is getting turbid, leading to drowsiness.
It's like a feedback loop.
Yes.
If I'm getting sleepy, it's a sign to refine my focus on the breath.
Exactly.
But how do I do that without straining or forcing it?
Lu Dongbin talks about finding a balance. He calls it effortless effort.
Effortless effort.
Yeah, it's not about forcing the breath,
Right.
but maintaining a light, gentle awareness of its subtle movements.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like finding that sweet spot between effort and relaxation.
Yes.
Engaged, but not tense.
Right.
He also mentions using our eyes for self-reflection, which seems a little counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Isn't closing my eyes supposed to help me turn inward?
He's not talking about literally staring at something.
Okay.
Eyes is a metaphor for our inward focus.
Okay.
He suggests we should gaze inward rather than outward, meaning our attention should be on our inner experience, not on external distractions.
So it's like turning my gaze away from the outer world towards the landscape of my own breath and sensations.
Exactly.
I like that image.
Yeah.
It makes meditation feel less like a battle against distractions and more like an exploration of my inner world.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Thank you.
And Lu Dongbin goes on to suggest that this inward focus should extend to our sense of hearing as well.
Okay.
He talks about listening for silence.
Okay.
Which again isn't about literally trying to hear nothing,
right,
but about shifting our attention away from external sounds and towards the stillness within.
So it's like creating a sense of inner sanctuary.
Yes.
Where my senses are no longer bombarded by the constant noise and stimulation of the outside world.
Precisely. And by cultivating this inner stillness, we can begin to access a deeper level of awareness.
Okay.
One that's less reactive and more grounded. He calls this the method of merging the sun and moon's essences.
Wow.
A poetic way of describing the union of our active and receptive energies.
Okay, but what if I'm doing all this and still find myself nodding off?
Yeah.
Sometimes drowsiness just wins, especially if I'm meditating early in the morning or late at night.
Lu Dongbin has some very practical advice for this, too.
Okay.
He says, if drowsiness becomes overwhelming, we shouldn't force ourselves to sit.
Okay.
Instead, stand up, take a brief walk, and return to practice when your energy has cleared.
That's such a relief to hear.
Yeah.
I always felt guilty if I had to get up during meditation.
Right.
Like I was somehow failing.
I know.
This makes it feel less like a rule.
Yeah.
More like a compassionate approach to working with my natural energy levels.
Exactly. He emphasizes that quality is more important than quantity.
Okay.
A short, focused meditation is more beneficial than a longer session filled with drowsiness or distraction.
So it's not about clocking in a certain number of minutes,
but
about truly engaging with the practice, even if it's just for a few moments.
Exactly. And he reassures us that consistent practice, even in small doses, will naturally lead to fewer distractions and greater focus over time.
I love how Lu Dongbin combines these deep philosophical insights with such practical, down-to-earth advice.
It's true.
It makes this ancient wisdom feel accessible and applicable to our modern lives.
It truly is a timeless teaching.
Yeah.
What I find especially powerful is how Lu Dongbin frames the entire process of cultivating inner stillness as a journey of self-discovery.
It's not just about achieving some state of perfect Zen-like calm, but about exploring the nuances of my own mind and discovering the power of focused attention.
Precisely. And this exploration, he suggests, can lead us to a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place in the world.
This raises an important question, though.
Okay.
How do we translate these ancient practices into our everyday lives? Because, let's be honest, most of us can't just escape to a mountaintop and meditate all day.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
How do we integrate these insights into the hustle and bustle of our daily lives?
Well, that's where Lu Dongbin's concept of ear light becomes especially relevant.
Yes.
Remember, it's not just about focusing on the breath during meditation.
Right.
It's about cultivating an inward focus that we can access anytime, anywhere.
Exactly.
So even when I'm surrounded by noise and distractions, I can still tune in to that subtle inner awareness.
Yeah.
That sense of stillness within.
Exactly. It's like developing an inner compass.
Okay.
That helps us navigate the chaos of daily life with more clarity and composure.
But the question is, how do we actually do that?
Right.
What are some practical ways to cultivate ear light amidst the demands of our modern world?
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge to find those moments of stillness when you know our to-do lists are a mile long.
Right.
And our phones are constantly buzzing. Yeah. It feels like our attention is always being pulled in 1,000 different directions.
Yeah, but remember Lu Dongbin's analogy of the thread.
Right.
Consistent, gentle effort is key.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to become hermits to integrate these practices into our lives.
Right.
Even small moments of focused attention can have a big impact.
Absolutely.
So instead of trying to completely overhaul my life, I can start by incorporating little ear light moments throughout the day.
Precisely, think of it as micro-meditation.
Micro-meditation, okay.
You can practice this while waiting in line at the grocery store, commuting to work, or even washing dishes.
Right.
Just a few conscious breaths, focusing on the subtle sensations of the breath, entering and leaving the body, can help create a sense of calm amidst the chaos.
I love that it's like carrying a little pocket of peace with me.
Yes.
Wherever I go.
Exactly.
It makes this ancient wisdom feel so much more applicable to our modern lives.
And remember, the more we practice, the more natural it becomes.
Okay.
It's like training a muscle. At first, it might feel awkward or forced.
Yeah.
But over time, it becomes easier to access that inner stillness, even in the midst of challenging situations.
So instead of being swept away by the current of my busy life, I can learn to create little islands of stillness within myself.
Exactly. And these moments of stillness don't just benefit us individually, they ripple outward, influencing how we interact with the world around us.
Interesting.
When we're more grounded and centered, we're less reactive, more patient, and more compassionate in our dealings with others.
It's like that saying, a calm mind creates a calm world.
Exactly.
That's what I find so inspiring about Lu Dongbin's teachings.
Yeah.
It's not just about personal enlightenment.
Right.
It's about cultivating a way of being that contributes to a more peaceful and harmonious world.
Beautifully said. And it reminds me of another important point.
Okay.
Lu Dongbin emphasizes that cultivating inner stillness is not about suppressing our thoughts or emotions. It's about learning to observe them with a sense of detachment and clarity.
So instead of getting caught up in the drama of my mental chatter, I can learn to witness it without judgment.
Yes.
Almost like watching clouds drift across the sky.
A perfect analogy.
Yeah.
As we become more skilled in this practice, we start to see that our thoughts and emotions are not who we are. They are simply passing phenomena.
Interesting.
This creates a sense of spaciousness within ourselves, allowing us to respond to life's challenges with more wisdom and equanimity.
It's like I'm reclaiming my power.
Yes.
Shifting from being at the mercy of my reactive mind to becoming a conscious creator of my own inner experience.
Exactly. And that, I believe, is the true essence of Lu Dongbin's teachings. Empowering us to tap into the inherent peace and wisdom that resides within each of us.
As we wrap up this deep dive into the secret of the golden flower,
yes,
what's one key takeaway you hope our listener will carry with them?
For me, it's the reminder that cultivating inner stillness is not a luxury. It's an essential practice for navigating the complexities of modern life. By incorporating even small moments of ear light into our days, we can begin to transform not just our own inner experience, but also the world around us.
Beautifully put.
Thank you.
I want to encourage our listener to experiment with these techniques.
Yes.
And observe the impact on their own mental and emotional state.
Absolutely.
It might feel subtle at first. But like Lu Dongbin suggests, consistent, gentle effort can yield profound results.
Indeed. As you explore these practices, I invite you to consider this. How can you bring the concept of ear light into your everyday interactions? How can you cultivate that inward focus? That sense of presence and awareness? Not just during meditation, but in your relationships, your work, and all aspects of your life.
That's a wonderful question to ponder.
It is.
And remember, the journey of self-discovery is ongoing.
Absolutely.
There's always more to learn, more to explore.
Yes.
And more to uncover within the depths of our own being.
That's the beauty of it.
So keep seeking, keep exploring, and keep cultivating that inner stillness.
Yes.
The rewards are well worth the effort.
I agree.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It was my pleasure.
Until next time, may your journey be filled with peace, clarity,
Mm-hmm.
and the blossoming of your own inner golden flower.